So we're again looking at changing the subject of the formula. This time we're going to look at some harder questions. If you haven't already, it's therefore important to watch the first two videos that I've already made on changing the subject. It's also handy to watch some of our other videos on algebra, such as solving two-step equations, as well as some of the videos we've made on both factorising and expanding brackets. So in these examples, we're again, for each of them, going to make x the subject. And if you remember from the first video, making a term the subject of the equation means we're going to get it on its own. So if we look at this, a equals x times d squared over 3, we need to get rid of the x, the 3, and the squared, okay? So again, we're going to start by getting rid of the 3 that's on its own on the bottom. So the 3 is dividing, so to get rid of divide by 3, we multiply by 3. And remember, if I multiply by 3 to get rid of 3 on the right hand side, I have to multiply by 3 on the left hand side as well. So 3 times a is 3a, which is equal to x over x times d squared, and that over 3, that's gone because that was the purpose of multiplying by 3, to get rid of that divide by 3. So now what we need to do is to get rid of this d squared. So this d squared is multiplying with the x over here, so to get rid of that we can just divide the whole right hand side by d squared, but remember we have to do the same to the left hand side also. So what we're left with is 3a over, and remember that's how we write division when we're doing this, 3a over d squared, which means 3a divided by d squared equals x. And now that we have x on its own, it's best practice, as pointed out before, to write it on the left hand side, so we just swap the left and the right hand side of the equation. So x equals 3a over d squared, okay? Now this next example, the issue here is that we have an x on both sides. So what we want to do is get rid of one of these x terms. So I'm going to get rid of this x that's on its own on the left hand side. So this x is adding with a 5a. So to get rid of a plus x, I subtract x. But remember, if I do this to the right hand side, I have to similarly do it to the left hand side. So what we end up with is 3x take away x is 2x. I still have that plus 2a because I haven't done anything with it yet, equals x take away x is 0, so it's gone, so I'm just left with the 5a on its own on the right hand side. Now I need to get rid of, because I'm trying to get x on its own, so I need to get rid of the multiply by 2 here and the plus 2a. So I'm going to get rid of this plus 2a by subtracting 2a. But remember, if I subtract 2a from the left hand side, I have to do the same to the right hand side. So it doesn't really matter what we're doing, whether it's to the left or the right hand side, as long as whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So now I'm left with 2x, because I haven't done anything with that 2 yet. 2a take away 2a is 0, so it's gone, is equal to 5a take away 2a, which is 3a. And the last thing I need to get rid of is this 2. This 2 is multiplying with the x, so to get rid of it, I do the opposite of multiplying by 2, I divide by 2. And again, if I do that to the left hand side, I have to do it to the right hand side. So what I'm left with is 2 divided by 2 is 1x, which is just x. It's equal to 3a divided by 2, which we just read as 3a over 2. And handy enough in this one, the x is already on the left hand side, so that is our answer. We can just leave it like that. Okay, moving on. So this example, we have x's on both sides, and we also have brackets. Now to collect or to get rid of one of those x's, I'm going to multiply out the brackets and then get rid of one of the x's on either the left or the right hand side. It doesn't really matter which. So multiplying out this bracket, so again, if you haven't already, as I mentioned earlier, it's important to watch the video on expanding brackets. 3 times e is 3e, 3 times x is 3x. Okay, so that's the bracket on the left expanded. On the right, I'm doing 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times minus 2, which is minus 4e. So we've got a 3x and a 2x now on the left and the right hand side. I'm going to get rid of this 2x now. So to get rid of 2x, because the 2x is a positive 2x on the left hand side, just be careful, that minus is in reference to this 4e. This is a positive 2x. So what I have to do to get rid of it is I have to subtract 2x. Don't be thrown by that minus. That minus is to do with that 4e. Alright, so to get rid of positive 2x, I subtract 2x. And I have to subtract 2x from the left hand side as well. So what I'm left with now is 3e. I haven't done anything with that yet. Remember, keeping like terms together, 3x take away 2x is 1x, which we just write as x, is equal to, and all we're left with on the right hand side, because 2x, take away 2x is 0, the 2x is therefore gone, is we're left with minus 4e. Now what I have to do is I have to get rid of this 3e on the left hand side to get x on its own, so this 3e is positive, so I take away 3e, but if I take away 3e from the left hand side, I have to take away 3e from the right hand side also. So 3e take away 3e is 0, so it's gone. I'm left with x is equal to minus 4 take away 3, which is minus 7e. Okay, and that's my final answer, because we already have x on the left hand side here. Okay, so the last example we're going to look at today, again we have x's on both sides. I have an ax and a dx. Again, it doesn't really matter if I decide to get rid of the x on the left or the x on the right, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the dx. So to get rid of the dx, because it's adding with the left, I'm going to subtract this positive dx. But again, if I do that to the left hand side, I have to do it to the, if I do it to the right hand side, I have to do it to the left hand side also. So this is where we just need to be careful, because what we're actually going to do is factorize in this question, and we'll see that in a wee second. I end up with ax minus dx, and the reason we can't actually subtract those to is because the a and the d, they're not like terms, even though they both have x's. These are not numbers, so we can't subtract them. I still have that plus c is equal to dx take away dx is 0, so it's gone, is equal to f, which is now on its own. Now what I have to get rid of is this c. It's a plus c, so I can take away c. So I'm left with ax minus dx. Taking away c from the left, I have to take it away from the right also, is equal to f minus c. Now to do anything with this, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to factorize this left hand side. If you remember, again this is why important, and I mentioned earlier, if you can't remember how to factorize, to watch the video on factorizing single brackets. I'm going to put brackets back in, and how I do that is I divide both terms by a common factor, and the common factor in this case is x. So I'm taking a factor of x outside the brackets, divide both these by x, which means I take an x out, so I'm left with a minus d, okay, is equal to f minus c. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to, because this entire bracket is multiplying with the x, I'm going to divide by this entire bracket. Remember, if I do that to the left, I have to do it to the right hand side also. So by dividing by that entire bracket, it cancels that out, so I'm left with x on its own on the left, which is what we want, is equal to f minus c all over a minus d, because that is the bracket we divided by. And you can keep the bracket in there if you want, doesn't really make a difference, but you actually don't need it once you've carried out the division. So x is equal to f minus c all over a minus d. Now some of these are quite tricky, they do take a bit of practice. I'll post some questions for you to have a go at, and anything you're unsure about, just ask.